talking about using a different military force. They finna use a an AI super soldier military force. What? I mean, how more lethal can that get?
That sounds like Terminator.
Terminator was a Universal Disclosure movie. Terminator was a Universal Disclosure movie, absolutely. And basically, these Terminators, they were built, they were created to destroy whoever was left past that we'll call it a pandemic. Whoever was left past that. Now, I didn't see all the movies, so you could. I'm saying if you did, you could follow up. But
yeah,
whoever was left after that pandemic or whatever event was in there, that AI was programmed to terminate the rest of the people on Earth. Am I right about that? Or I'm saying, was that the storyline?
Pretty much
because I didn't see
AI was Skynet. They called it Skynet, and they basically wiped out all the humans, all of them.
Were they programmed to do so, though?
That's right. They were androids.
So Skynet they were programmed through Skynet, which is an Ethernet, or did Skynet program them?
Skynet was a version of the internet, and it got a hold of launch codes and had every country was firing nuclear weapons at each other, and the whole world was devastated, and the survivors was the robots that they had built was scouting, hunting down on all the rest of the humans.
That's what I was shown, at least.
But
because
the humans that was still alive was resistant, and they had their own military force. They were fighting back against the shit. And that was,
how were they able to locate the humans? Because I heard something like these robots are going to have some type of melanin transmissions, or they can detect melanin life force. How was it in the movie, though?
Oh, I mean, they had ships. They had high-flying ships and drones and robots. They had all the capabilities. You know what I'm saying? Humans was practically going back to the Stone Age. And you know what I'm saying? The people that survived had military bases. They were like underground bunkers and shit. They had access to fighter jets and stuff. They was fighting, but man, they were building more robots. Robots building more robots. And San Francisco was like the mecca of where the shit was taking place in. They were taking all the humans back, the ones that they captured. They were taking them all back to the Skynet headquarters in San Francisco, and they was processing them there, right?
You think that was like a FEMA detention camp or something?
Yeah, because they was killing them folks. They was putting them in incinerators and burning them.
Were they ever turning them into robots or AI?
On that one movie called Terminator Salvation, this dude that was in prison, they experimented on him and turned him into a half robot, half human. But he was able to override the shit, and he used it to help fight off the other robots. And that's how they was able to, you know what I'm saying?
Now, how did he turn him into a half human, half robot? Was it through implant? Was it implant embedded?
They when he got released, he was up for parole, and he was like, do whatever y'all want to do, because I did some real bad shit. So they put him to sleep, and he woke up. He didn't know they had them restructured his whole body His bones wasn't bones anymore. They was metal. His skull was metal. He had implants. He still had his soul, so to speak, right? So the essence. But I don't know the procedure they did to do it. They didn't show all that shit. But he basically was an android that still had a human brain.
That's pretty much when you get that implant. I mean, people been had that 10 years ago. Years and years ago, they've been had the little implant that they put in your hand, in the web of your hand. That turns a person. That's gonna turn you into an android, but you still have a human brain. But whatever the program is running, that's basically what's downloaded into your brain, which is connected to the command center, which is that chip, that microchip. So were they able to like shut it off, shut it down, and like a kill switch type of thing? And
oh yeah, so
to just shut people's computers, like power off.
Now the humans wasn't infected. The resistance they wasn't infected with any kind of nanotechnology or whatever. But the one dude that was the android, he found out that he was on a mission. He thought he was helping people. Really, they was tracking him, and he was leading. They was following him to see where the human bases were, the resistance bases and shit. And so when he came back to try to infiltrate the headquarters, they uploaded whatever programs he had in his mind, and they was like, "You did a good job. Now we know where John Connor and all the resistance, and we didn't know where everybody's at." And he felt like he was betrayed. He was like, "I'm gonna stop you." That shit like nothing that you can do. And he went and he tore the back of his head off with his hands, and some kind of computer chip they had, he ripped it out and smashed it. They weren't able to track him more. But I mean,
What was that? An implant?
It was some kind of implant. He was able to tear it out of his back of his head, where they wasn't able to track him anymore. But
I wonder if that's what they had injected in me, the U.S. court. I wonder if that's what, did they inject it in him?
He went through some kind of surgery after he got out of prison, because he was supposed to do a life in prison. So he signed up for a program, for a super soldier program. He didn't know that they actually was going to restructure his whole body.
So the super soldiers, I'm talking about the super soldiers here that's going to be involved in forcing people to get the mark of the beast. That's going to be that implant where you got to get it in your, it describes it in the basic instructions before leaving Earth. Getting an implant, the mark of the beast self, that's your lower self. That's your lower man, your carnal man, your pride of life, lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, lust of the flesh, the pride of life. That is the part of you that separates you from the great God, universal Allah. So that will lock you into that consciousness where you will be separated from the great God, universal Allah, until you transmute everything that's downloaded into your program, which is the brain recording for 24/7 hours out of one day. Everything that it comes into contact with energetically or physically, it's recording.
Again, back to what you were saying, it's gonna have to be soldiers, super soldiers to do that. Not regular people ain't gonna do that.
Murphy Law. So this will separate you from the great God Universal Allah until everything that has been programmed into your computer, which you will have multiple computers, systems, if you do insert the mark of the beast. If you do get the mark of the beast, the implant that allows you to be accepted into a all digital society, where cash is obsolete. So that implant, again, there are people right now, again, they have the one for the face, the rapper Cash Doll. Again, that's one popular example. K-A-S-H Doll, Cash Doll. She's a rapper. She has they're purposely flooding the social media platforms with propaganda about face cards. Now, there are two different type of face cards, because some people are saying it in an aesthetic sense. Their facial profile, their facial structure, their facial aesthetics. But no, that face card that Cash Doll has, that allows her to buy merchandise just by swiping her face in front of just like a tap card pay. It allows her to purchase her material. Now, my theory is she's an android. We know this, but my theory is that maybe she was one. I don't know how many of these so-called celebrities are they forcing to get these implants, because it looked like Ariana Pequeno or Ariana Grande. It looked like she's getting deleted right now as we speak. That's what it appears like to me. So how many of the so-called celebrities are they either forcing or allowing to get these implants to influence and program the masses before it's forced upon anyone who wants to continue in a GMO manufactured world? So again, this implant, again, going back to the subconscious mind recording 24/7. Even the subconscious mind through the ocular, through the lens, through your eyes, it even records your peripheral. See, like that's how dangerous this society is. They call me dangerous because I speak the truth and how the great God sees it. I call them dangerous because the weapons that are being used against human vessels, again, the ocular, the eyes being a lens, these are lenses to the camera of your soul recording everything in its vicinity at a 360 though. 360, up, down, side to side. Multi-dimensionally is what your soul is recording. So the eyes are connected to a physical body. The physical body oscillates, vibrates slower, so it's limited It's limited in what it can see. So now for the recording that goes on through the eyes, it's just basically peripheral. I'm not talking about the eyes in the back of people's heads. They are implants. They are extraterrestrial implants. That is etheric technology. But it allows the spiritual wickedness in higher dimensions, it allows them to access you like if a camera was watching you. It would allow them to access a target through implants that someone would have in the back of their head. They would be called eyes in the back of their head. And that is going on right now. So that's, divine court hearing and transfer, because these are privacy. These are universal crimes against humanity, because these are privacy violations. There should be no spiritual wickedness in higher dimensions that got access to me on this physical earth, recording me. But it's going on. It's a privacy violation, and that's why it's up to us once we find these things out. I've been through this shit. That's why I move a particular way. Even when I know that a spiritual wickedness in the higher dimensions is recording me, I'm continually doing transmutation work. Therefore, they're getting their evil back. It's going to be sent back to that dimension, divine times fold. So we hold that consciousness that one day they gonna learn. One day they gonna learn. What bad behavior gets you? Bad behavior, multi-dimensionally, bad behavior gets you sent to the dimensions of weeping and gnashing of the teeth for the divine amount of time. There is no eternal hell. There is no infinite hell. If there was an infinite eternal hell, that would mean that great God started in hell. Where was hell? When or where was hell created? No one knows that. So it's not possible for someone to say that there is an eternal, infinite hell that one never leaves. Because all men will be saved at some divine time, in all time and space, at some point in time, through enough weeping and gnashing of the teeth, enough lifetimes in the fiery furnace of the great God, universal Allah, in these dimensions that generate on a continual and renewal basis weeping and gnashing of the teeth. Souls, they learn to do right and become righteous over time. So that we're calling it a divine court hearing and transfer for that satanic doctrine. That is from Satan to keep the world, because look, it's a collective of, it's a huge, we don't know the percentage, but there's a huge collective of the world that actually believes in some hell that they're going to stay in for as long as the great God went on. They're saying that there was a hell, so they're saying they got to stay there that no end, no beginning. Y'all some wicked ass MFers for that. So that is Satan and the wicked ones, so they can get y'all, if you don't tithe, you go to hell. If you don't do this, if you don't do that, if you don't, everything becomes about fear and control. Because they can tell you're going to some eternal hell. You got one lifetime to get it right. If you don't, you're going to eternal and infinite hell. That's nothing but Satan. Satan be saying the most absurd thing, including the Christmas story. The fact that you guys as a collective, the 99% of people, you don't want to make these corporations, you spike their life force energy off of the backs of your slavery, right? You barely want to get up. That is mourning for you. It's not mourning for me. It's a grand rising for me. It's mourning for you because you barely want to get up. Because you hate. You either hate what you do, or you hate the time that you spend there, or you hate the people that you're around all day, or you hate the politics, or you might hate the pay. Or you might hate the pay. But either way, hate is hate. Hate is vibrates, it oscillates at a specific frequency. Hate does. I don't know what hurts it is, HC, but someone out there can do the research. But it oscillates at a particular hertz frequency, and if you hate any aspect of it, you are, to whatever degree you're going to be charged with, you are going to be charged with generating hate on the earth. So we got to get our thoughts in alignment with the divine mind that is peace, it's joy, and whatever you're doing. So back to that, the mark of the beast, that implant that you're going to need to be accepted into an all-digital society. No, we will not take your cash. No, you cannot tap card pay. Give me your hand or your face. Or wherever it's going. I don't know exactly where it's located. In the face. Tap that. They're going to tap your head, and literally it's an energy transaction. So it's digital, so it's definitely like a spiritual transaction. So it's just be taking every time you tap, it's just going to be taking more and more of your consciousness to the dimensions wherever you're getting reincarnated back into slavery. Whatever time and space you're going to be reincarnated. This, if you go along with that shit, I'm not going along with that shit. So I'm saying, if you actually the same way, you know how many people I didn't talk to that said, oh, I got that vaccine because I needed to work, because I needed to live paycheck to paycheck. Or go to school just for Bill Gates and Elon Musk to say, we got another 10 more years to use you niggers. And then we're gonna just we're replacing you with robots. Yes, that is universal disclosure from your satanic world leaders. Bill and Melinda Snakes and Elon Muskhead. So they put it on the record. The same way that Elon Musk, this is how we know the world is still asleep. So listen, I represent the positive polarity. These are positive. These are beings of the positive polarity from multi-dimensions, everywhere from even Arcturus. They know that the world is still asleep, so that it's not. They're limited in how much they can communicate with you through your reality, your external reality, because the world is still asleep. Because you got Elon Musk told about 4 million people, almost 4 million people. They could be chatbots, I don't know. But chatbots, they still got brains. That Memphis, Tennessee is ancient Egypt. He put that on the record. There was no redaction. This is a multi-billion, I assume. I'm saying between his, I know this nigga ain't that dumb. I'm saying besides his space ventures and Earth ventures, Divine Court hearing on everything that Elon Musk's vessel is doing, because his vessel is a portal and his vessel is connected to the spiritual wickedness in the higher dimensions. They have access to the earth through his vessel. That's Satan in the flesh. You got that right. Elon Musk now the same way they say, they portray these universal beings, these beings that they're aligned vibrationally with the divine mind, with the universe, with the great God, universe, Allah. So their frequencies align. They're called Christ consciousness beings, universal beings. It's many of them. I think they call them 144,000. Now, on the polarity, Satan got them too. Satan got them vessels. It's a, what would I call that? It's a, like the chosen ones. It's a remnant, I guess you want to say, of them too. They're split up. They're split up into many bodies, but they're all Satan. And Elon, that's him. That's Satan. So we're gonna call a divine court hearing against the vessel of Satan for all of the destruction that he is doing to my Mother Earth. Fuck you! And that's that. We're gonna let the great God handle that, because that's Satan. The great God is gonna every shift we go into this earth where she raises her frequency, the great God is ruling in favor of the earth and ordering these vessels all types of divine executive orders. So we don't gotta get into the dramas of this earth. We don't have to be emotionally attached to the dramas of this earth, because this earth, that earth that was created, that world, that world was created by Satan. Satan just split off into multiple bodies, but they all had one agenda, and that was for world domination. So anyone that understands that agenda, they knew that they got to steal from the earth. They got to steal from the earth, and they got to steal from the resources of the earth. And the humans are a resource of the earth. Every human could add positively to the earth and can add negatively to the earth. So even human vessels are resources of the earth, and that is why they are using humans to accomplish their nefarious fear-based agenda. How many ghettos, how many hoods is Elon Musk building these, all of these technologically advanced institutions in? If he ain't doing that, that's the op. If he not looking out for the descendants of the indigenous people here to honor, oh my, the only reason I got what I got is because of these indigenous people, because of this land. Oh, let me give back. I see he's giving back to himself. They said he was like the richest, poorest in spirit individual. So, again, this is one of the technologies that he's invested in, is to turn you into an android. Because they're doing human clinical trials right now, and what was put on the record from what I saw, that I guess your mind will be like a remote controller. Now, this is all artificially based. That's why I said you're going to have to make a choice between the great God, Universal Allah, or transmuting, living inside everything, that all of your thought, words, and deeds that were recorded, again, that world that was programmed into you, you are in all types of Freddy Kruegers, and you are in all types of poverty simulations, and things like whether you were subjected to the news, any type of violence you were subjected to that you recorded, you will be living through all of that. You will have listen, this is science. This is not punishment. This is not punishment. This is according to science. All fear that was created on the earth, from that cycle, that age, that era of time, that eon, the last age, called the age of Pisces. We're in a whole new age, world. We saw a lot of ages come and go, including the dinosaur age. Oh, we don't want dinosaurs on the earth anymore. Extinct them. And now we just find their fossils. So I'm sure at some point in time and space, humans will be recovered again. But until then, all of the fear that was created on earth from the age of Pisces, age that ended, what your Bible refers to as world. Hebrew to English, not so translatable if you want to talk about in accordance with universal truth, or the truth according to how the great God, Universal Allah, sees it. If you want to get the truth from how the great God, Universal Allah, sees it, aka universal law, you would have to go to a more pure form of language, because English language is an extremely low frequency language. It's an extremely low frequency language. Therefore, it lowers your frequency down when you use it. It lowers your frequency when you use it, even when you read it, because you got the whole world thinking this world is going to end. You're going to end before my Mother Earth ends. Bet on that. So again, that's just another lie, a blatant lie of Satan, to throw the masses off just that one foundational truth. It threw your whole foundation. Your whole foundation is built on a lie. There is no truth in you, because your whole foundation was built on a lie. See, my vessel and the very elect, they're coming back to the truth. That is the great God, universal Allah. That's called ascension. That's what's described in the Holy Quran Circle 7 as a ladder step. There are ladder steps in consciousness getting back to the great God, universal Allah. That's what the Bible, the basic instructions before leaving earth, refers to as going glory to glory. It happens in baby steps, and that's why they gave you the Bible. Because you have a finite mind and you were programmed from lies, from fear. That's what, because the European gave it to you. The European was not about to give you the truth of the great God, universal Allah, because they had that. The 1%, them on the negative side, they had the universal truth of the great God, universal Allah, because the great God warned a rebellious and wicked nation about disobedience and how these oppressors would come to take you into slavery. Well, you have to take the heritage of a nation. You have to take the heritage and everything else to put someone in slavery. So they took, however it happened, they took the knowledge of the universe that's woven into our DNA, the melanin, the indigenous, the melanated, whom the European has cursed as black, Negro, colored, African American, Negro being a four-legged animal. In 1774, on the United States Corporation record, you were not called black, Negro, African American until 1774 by the founding fathers of a satanic empire called United States Corporation of America. So that the universe that is it's in your pigment, it's called melanin. That is the universe. That's universal. That's universe, life force, energy. It's a part of, you know, we got the deepest of melanated that have been a part of the indigenous ancestors' land, so-called America. The deepest melanated human vessels have been here. That's the universe. So they took your melanin, they took the universal, basically it's a universal genetic code that they took to take dominion on this earth, on the, you know, in different parts of the earth. And that is where the consciousness of humanity fell. Legally, where it fell. It fell legally in 1774. That was a spiritual contract. You know, before that, you know, everything was forced through torment and trauma, right? But things had to be pretty civilized for them to get a whole nation to accept a legal status, a legal contract with Satan to become, according to science, dead. That is separated death. The spiritual contract of being black is being separated from the great God, universal Allah, in consciousness. That means you will be subject to all things that separate you from the great God, universal Allah, including poverty. That's what our nation has seen. Our nation has seen slavery and poverty. Great God, universal Allah is abundance. So who is experiencing abundance on my ancestors' land, the indigenous ancestors' land? Oh, the European is. Oh, why? Because they called themselves legally. They legally called themselves white. White meaning pure. White. This is according to science, because colors have a vibration. Colors have an energetic effect. So, white according to science, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the prophet given to the so-called blacks. Muslim, white according to science, pure, God, ruler of the land. If anyone wants to deny that this was pure witchcraft that has been done on this land of Amexem, so-called America, if anyone wants to deny that, go to the dimensions of weeping and gnashing of the teeth with your father Satan. That's all I gotta say about that. So we're calling in a divine court hearing and transfer for all of the witchcraft and spells and curses done on just the divinely chosen ancestral lands, because this is all, like I said, there's not all or nothing. So whatever, the great God's going to pull up all of these records, the exact witchcraft, black magic, curses that was done on this land, because listen, y'all think AI lawyer is something, because look, these angels, they just go into databases. AI ain't got nothing on the dimensions of the great God. So all of the records are being pulled, and now judgments are going out, rulings are being made, and transfers are being awarded. Because I still got ancestors that's in the dimensions of weeping and gnashing of the teeth because of the records that they have to watch these records, but they got to feel the emotions that they felt at that time that it happened, and they also have to watch it. It's like the same way they show you movies here. The same way they show you movies here, but if you're at a movie, even if you get scared, you're at a movie. But not the same grief and torment that they experienced at that time. They have to, when that record comes up, for it to be released from the dimension of Earth, so we can go into higher frequency. They have to review it as a movie, and they have to feel that. Now, that's why the great God said through I remember through the basic instructions before leaving Earth, there is one vessel still on Earth to process this trauma and grief for the ancestors that's still in the DNA, and that would be you. One to every bloodline and lineage. So, it's up to you if you want to keep those records, keep the fear records of your ancestors, or if you want to honor the legacy of your ancestors and transmute that. Oh, well, I've never heard this information before. And I don't want to I have to take an implant and be turned into an android and be separated from the great God, universal Allah, for however long it takes to transmute every thought, word, and deed that I created in fear on earth. And sometimes, listen, every time this one earth action affects multi-dimensional timelines. So we don't know how long these separations from the great God, universal Allah, can be. With what 99% of people were subjected to on earth. So how do I, because there will be some that would ask, I've never heard this information. How would I transmute? How would I be that vessel that transmute? I've never started any of this work. How would I be the vessel to transmute for my ancestral bloodline and lineage that was subjected to slavery, so that I know that it's still recorded in my DNA, because I am a descendant of my forefathers and foremothers, my ancestors. If you're saying that, again, the great God, universal Allah, already gave the scientific formula of exorcising demons. Demons are hate, are anger, are the great God said, and I'm paraphrasing, but anger could be you could get a charge of murder for anger, because look, this is you know what, I don't want to get into that, but anger is a demon, because it can actually, when we're talking about law of cause and effect, anger can cause you to what? Murder someone physically murder someone. Anger can cause someone to. Anger can cause you to do a lot of things that are sin against the great God, universal Allah. The great God doesn't just consider one dimension. The great God considers the infinite possibilities when judging. Because I said that, like, I've had, U.S. Corp, I've had people that, for non-emergencies, they want to do things like call the, I don't know what to call them. I can't call them police officers because they were not sworn in as police officers. They were sworn in as public servants, as peace officers. PEACE. But they're not that either. So, like, what do we call them? We got to make up a new name. But this is what the great God, universal Allah, said about them, no? The great God, universal Allah, said they are impersonating peace officers. They're impersonating police officers. So they are, according to great God, universal Allah, they are committing crimes against humanity. Because the frequency vibration of a peace officer and the frequency vibration of a police officer, it's inverted. You know what I'm saying? It's upside down, it's backwards. Because they doing the opposite of peace out here. We got countless statistics. We got countless on the records. That's why they had to change the name so they could summon a new entity in that police vessel. You can't have these entities. If they was running around as peace officers, these entities would not be allowed in that vessel. Peace has a certain frequency vibration. That's why they had to change. So we call it, listen, we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep doing this. We call it a divine court hearing and a transfer. Because these are criminals. They're committing crimes against humanity. They are not police officers, and their duty is not being done. I never left feeling peace after one interaction with them. And again, on the record, it's countless others that have the same experience. So as a collective, see how the great God, Universal Allah, is going to rule this petition. The great God, Universal Allah, is going to rule like all the records of every human that has had a unjust, negative, fear-based experience with police is going to be ruled on. Automatically, instantly, it's going to be a shift. Boom, now we just shifted into a higher frequency on earth. This is our job. This is our job as the very elect, as the chosen by the great God, Universal Allah, the positive polarity that is operating judicially, legally on the earth right now. Again, we don't have to get into the dramas of the world. I see something I don't like, and I merely call it out. I call it out of here. I call it off of the earth. That's my job. I'm trained to do that. And again, people asking, well, how do I do that? Because it starts with the ancestor. You are blocked from the great God, Universal Allah. If you still have slavery, torment, trauma, rape, murder, theft, trickery, deceit, devil energy stored in your DNA, you're separated from the great God, Universal Allah. To that degree that it is recorded in your DNA. So, with the scientific formula what the great God gave through Yahawashi, whom Satan called Jesus, because Satan had to invert that frequency. Satan did not want the world calling on Yahawashi. What? The son of the great God, Universal Allah, the most noblest image of the great God, Universal Allah. You think Satan wanted the world calling on that name? I'll give him Jesus. So Yahawashi gave the scientific formula. No demon, no extremely low frequency shall be exercised less through fasting and prayer. Less through fasting and prayer. Because when you're talking about the energy world, fasting is a physical act. If we want to be in alignment with universal law, we have to combine that with a spiritual intent, whether it be through thoughts are spiritual because there's an electrical synapse fires, and there's a change in the universe when a thought is thought. That's spiritual. Or even more effect, well, could be the voice, they call it a voice box. A voice box, a vocal cord. It cords you to the earth through electricity coming from your throat center. What is it doing? It grounds you to the earth.
Crop dusting.
Are they crop? What is crop dusting?
Pesticides on the crop for the. See, that's exactly what he
all right. Well, all right. So that's crop dust. He's crop dusting out here. So let's call a divine court hearing in for all crop dusting going on. I don't know what's involved in it. It's a new term to me. So we'll see what comes of it. A judgment is going to be ruled. Because this vessel of Allah, I just brought this to the great God. I just brought this petition directly to the great God, Universal Allah. So we'll see how the crowd, crop dusting, the changes that are implemented within the crop dusting industry. And we're going to figure out how it's negatively influencing the earth, and we'll be implementing changes for every shift that the earth goes up in Schumann resonance. That Schumann resonance is just the frequency of the earth. I just know a little bit of things, that's it. But I tell what I do know. That's the Schumann resonance, SCHMAN resonance. That's just the frequency of the earth. So when we call on these petitions, you'll see frequency changes because the great God will literally rule. Satan, get your ass in this dimension and meet my servant. I'll go meet Satan. Bitch, let these MFers know all operations halted, cease now. And whatever aspect, they gotta shut that shit down. And boom. They stop spraying a percentage, because this shift is over time. They stop a percentage of crop dusting. Boy, I don't know what's going on with that, whether it's a poison or a pollutant, but boom, now the earth can raise her frequency. She's exposed to less toxins and chemicals. So that's how it works. That is your job. As a citizen of the earth that is witnessing crimes against humanity go on, call your universal crime hotline. Look, use your crystals. They using crystals to contact other dimensions and cell phones. If you need to contact a universal crime tip hotline, use your crystals. But again, if you do that, make sure that you are cleansing them either with the earth, either with salt, either with herbs, or with selenite. Selenite, SELENITE, a crystal never needs to be charged or cleansed. And it also does the dual function of charging and cleansing other crystals. If you want to remove negative energy from your phone, sit it on a slab of selenite with the intent to remove all negative energy from your phones and electronics. This is from the Great God, because I don't even do this. I don't do this ish right now, because I work out of different spaces. So, but I know there are going to be vessels out here, the very elect, that have to use every arsenal against these negative forces. And selenite is one of those arsenals. I don't have to use selenite no more because I'm just a crystalline being myself. I cleanse and charge. Everywhere I go gets cleansed and charged. I do the function of organite. My vessel has been upgraded in other dimensions to be organite to the earth. But if you have not reached that state in consciousness yet, then you will need to use crystals like selenite, and those other things that I mentioned to, after you call up that Universal Crime Tip hotline with your crystal, you're gonna want to cleanse and charge it, because it's some real evil energies to what is going on the earth. So you'll be transmitting that to your crystal. That is universal cosmic information that crystals receive. Crystals have the two life forms to be considered they have the two ingredients to be considered a life form. That means they're directly connected to the universal great God, Allah, and they are way higher frequency than flesh. And they are transmitters and receivers. They transmit universal cosmic information from the positive polarity and the negative polarity. They receive universal cosmic information, energy, this information, from the positive and negative polarity. So that if you even hold a crystal, you have an energy center in your palm. They showed you that on Marvel. They show you that on that Amazon machine in Whole Foods Market. It's a Kindle machine. All you have to do is you pay with your palm. You no longer need a credit card any longer. You pay with the palm of your hand. Well, that's because it's an energy center, and you're doing an energy transaction when you pay for goods or services. So these crystals, also being receivers of universal cosmic information, aka energy, they're going to receive that negative energy unless it's a crystal that does not hold a negative charge. Selenite does not hold a negative charge. What's the other one? I think it's like rhodozite. RHODIZITE. They're tiny. They look like they look like little boogers, but they're crystals. They do not hold a negative charge either. And I think it's a couple more. Someone out there can probably know that research. But you can call up your Universal Crime Tip hotlines with your crystals. And I do not recommend, the great God do not recommend getting them from online, because you do not know the whereabouts of these crystals. Because crystals are life forms, they can be grown. You can grow a crystal. Divine court hearing. I am calling this divine court hearing and transfer against China, because it's a big industry where they are growing crystals. These crystals do not hold the vibration of the earth. They are useless unless you just want to look, whatever. They're useless. They're GMO crystals. They don't hold the vibration of the earth. And China is a leader in this. That's from what I'm seeing. From where I'm seeing it at. So, we're calling it a divine court hearing and transfer against the lab-grown industry, lab-grown crystal, GMO crystal industry in China. And that's why I don't recommend for someone who wants to use it for energetic purposes. I don't recommend getting them online. You don't know how many hands they exchanged through, how much information they recorded before they got to you. You don't know if they are crystals that hold the vibration of the earth, that hold the records of the earth. Me, I always went out to places like Sedona, Arizona to get my stones and crystals. And I also went to places like Joshua Tree Vortex. I got the best crystals out there. I got my best crystals from Sedona. Dug them right out the ground. Lost some. Initiations and detachment. That's what I do actually grieve when I lose my crystal family. They're more family to me than, say, most human vessels are not compatible frequencies for my vessel. So I'm more compatible with something like a crystal. So that would be the time that I do grieve, is when I lose my crystal family. But these are initiations and these universal laws of detachment, letting go of the material realm, because there is no material realm. There is only a universal life force, cosmic energy. That's the great God, universal Allah. That is the truth. So, again, about this mark of the beast, it's called the mark of the beast because it's going to I can't tell you how many lives you're gonna have to live through separated in your beast nature from the great God, universal Allah. So you're gonna be like in your lower self, your beast self, your satanic self, separated from great God, universal Allah. Obviously living lives of what you downloaded into your computer programming through that implant and chip. If you're prepared to do that to maintain or survive an extra 20 or 40 years, and with all these cancer warnings out here, I don't know how much time you guys actually have left. Your president, Donald, put on a record about stage 10 cancer. It's chemotherapy. It's not. These are these plagues. I'm sure it was kind of meant in a joking way, but no, that's universal disclosure, because these are like end time plagues. These are cancers you will have no opportunity, no chance to cure. These are, by the time it would overtake someone's body, it would be at a stage 10. How many days do they give somebody at stage 4? And your president put on the record about somebody having stage 10 cancer. Well, that's because the societies that have been created are extremely toxic and deadly. Why does everything on my ancestors' land have a cancer and reproductive warning, divine court hearing, and transfer? Because guess what? Whoever is making those labels, whatever families are responsible for that and are making those labels and creating things with toxins and chemicals and intentionally, well, that's all right, because the great God is just ordering a transfer. Sickness and disease is just a vibration, it's just a frequency, that's it. And it would have to manifest in the physical. So I'm saying we that represent the positive polarity, which is the great God, universal Allah, are we're doing transfers, because there's a certain percentage of the collective of the earth that are affected by these cancer warnings, because that's a program. They're recording that through their eyes, their oculars, their lenses, to the camera of their soul. They are recording these cancer and reproductive warnings. Could that be the manifestation of childhood cancer and leukemia, childhood leukemia? Could that be one manifestation of it? Well, we'll find out. We'll find out. Because the ones that are responsible for this, and multi-dimensionally too, because this is spiritual wickedness in the higher dimensions first that it comes from. And then their chosen vessels carry out their nefarious agendas on earth. So it's families, it's families of capitalism. Can we call it a divine court hearing and transfer against the families, the founding families of capitalism, consumerism, and commercialism, and their involvement in poisoning humanity? That's a divine court hearing. That is a transfer. Yet, I heard that Earth is a dimension of choices. You get to make your choices here, but you got an afterlife where you got to face those choices. From your book of life that was written, the Holy Quran, Circle 7, the book of life, the record of every thought, word, and deed of humanity. That's where you're gonna pay for that at. Multidimensionally, simultaneously too. So you will be in many different forms facing the consequences of your actions against humanity. And that we will transfer that from a percentage. We'll transfer that from a percentage of the collective that have been subjected to it. So we'll pull up everyone that has records of these cancer and reproductive warnings. All the records will be pulled, and it'll be like a pie chart. So like this percentage, percentage of whatever frequency that is, or from the Cancer and reproductive warnings, that percentage, that amount will be awarded to this consciousness. And for this position, it's the founding families of capitalism, consumerism, and commercialism shall be awarded, and this judgment, and boom, you know, great God, universal Allah, we know ain't no sickness over here, ain't no illness over here. We call our divine and perfect health back, restored, multidimensionally. This energy even listen, universal law of one, we are all bound by one cord. Those whom you are closest to are more affected by your energy. So this affects your ancestors positively as well. So again, getting the implant to merely survive in an all-digital society for a certain amount of time, you have to weigh, number one, whether you want to be separated from the great God, universal Allah, which forget the name, we're talking about the frequency vibration. You want to be separated from peace, because that's the great God, universal Allah. You want to be separated from lifetimes of joy, because that's the great God, universal Allah. Even if you never knew the name of the great God, universal Allah, the great God, universal Allah don't have a name in other dimensions that sound familiar to us. So even if you never knew that the great God has a name, you can still experience peace. You can still experience love and joy and happiness, and you can still experience lifetimes of positivity. But not if you have to transmute lifetimes of fear that you created through your thoughts, words, and deeds, whether it was fed to you or not, whether you went to that movie and you participated in telling those lies to your spiritual vision center, your third eye. If you sat in front of a portal, a television screen, it affects your emotions, and your emotions are going through somewhere else. Some extremely low frequencies are demonic portals. So you're terrified in a movie, and maybe you had dreams of it, nightmares, you don't want to go out, you know, all types of weird shit people be doing when they are scared. Well, you created this. You created this energy, and it's taking form somewhere. And you will have to account for that. Every time you did it, you're going to have to account for that. If you were seeing a movie and you are a part of a network, if you were a part of a satanic network, listen, a physical design is a spiritual design. All of your seats are connected in a movie theater. I mean, listen, the basic instructions before leaving Earth, they give the basic where two or more are gathered in agreement. And we talking about, we have whole movie theaters full of dopamine, doped up humans. You're doped up. You're doped up on some of your most addictive chemicals that the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, allows. The legal limits of your most addictive chemicals that are allowed in your processed food, that the Food and Drug Administration allows, that induce dopamine, your feel-good chemicals. That's what you need for LOA. That's what you need for law of attraction. I never saw The Secret, but I did get the premise of that you need a visualization. They told you need a visual board and a visualization with what? A filling state, right? You need a filling state. So, is that not your movies? You're doped up on addictive chemicals. You're feeling great. You're feeling good. And now your emotions, your energy in motion. That energy's moving out of you. It's going somewhere. It's in motion. It's going to another dimension. So they're manipulating your energy in motion. If they want you sad in a movie, they'll play a certain tune, like certain music, to get you happy or sad or excited or in the energy of suspense. They will they'll brain train you to get your energy moving in another dimension, right? So, and on top of that, you're all connected. And going even further, you're connected by different jurisdictions or states. Same movie times and the same simulations. So you are being entered, knownfully or unknown, you are being entered into a witchcraft coven. You are being entered into a satanic ritual when you are at the movie theater. If you are a master alchemist, you could transmute this, but most people do not have the ability and are subject. You're subject to these simulations that you created. You cannot say, I want Marvel or whatever. I want that. They did it. Because you brought the ticket, you sat down, you brought your drugs, you brought your spirits. You sat down in front of that portal with your wine and spirits, and you allowed them spirits in and out your vessel. And them spirits, they ain't leaving. They need access to the earth. Why you think they come through movie portals? You think they just gonna leave? After you leave that movie, you go home with them. So again, this is the trap of this being turned into an android. Getting the mark of the beast, because again, you will be literally teleported into these simulations and energetic imprints that your vessel was on record responsible for your Earth experience. And the whole world on Earth is having their records pulled as the 99%. The 99% is having their records pulled right now. All the thoughts, words, and deeds created out of fear, whether you was watching the news, whether you was listening to your favorite artists talk about all types of fear-based agendas, whatever. All of these fears have to be collapsed before we can get to the earth that is restored back to divine order. No fear will be here. No fear will even be able to manifest on this earth. All sins will be wiped from the record of earth that was created in the age of Pisces, the last age, a satanic age, where Satan had dominion over it. And Satan ruled the minds and hearts of man. And you all will face the consequences of all your thoughts, words, and deeds as a collective on earth in the Great Tribulation. Oh, that's a real thing. I know your pastor. You know, I know your pastor. Made you just not believe in anything with the Bible, because how many pastors are out here teaching from the Hebrew text? How many of your from the indigenous, melanated, Asiatic, Moorish American, Muslim, Israelite, vessels are going to churches where the pastor teaches from even the Apocrypha. How many pastors are teaching from the Apocrypha? So you're not learning anything. You're learning hog slop. And that's why you're going into the Great Tribulation. 99% are going into the Great Tribulation. That's what the Holy Quran Circle 7 describes as that great and awful day known to mankind. That great and awful day. Absolutely, it does involve the financial system. It was already collapsed by the great God, Universal Allah. It was already collapsed. When the sins of the world, because poverty is a sin. I don't know what you think. That's not poverty. Poverty produces humility, and it acts dual-based. But poverty is a sin because there is no poverty. The great God, Universal Allah, is not poverty. That is a sin. That's not mankind's true heritage and nature. Poverty. So when the sins of the world reach the great God in heaven, the great God, Universal Allah, declared divine order on earth. That moment was the moment we shifted into the age of Aquarius, governed by this new age is governed by love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It's only justice for everyone to be abundant, because that's our true nature, is abundance. We just had 1% living off of our abundance. Thus generating poverty. So when the sins of the world reached the great God, and the great God judged, ruled on the earth, we shifted into an age of abundance. We are currently in an age of abundance. Now, it may not appear on the physical, because the physical is not the spiritual reality. The physical playing out is not the spiritual reality. The frequency is a lot different from the spiritual plane to the physical plane. The physical plane, everything's moving slower. You look at that the microscope and see the invisible matter moving. It could be moving really fast. It could be moving really slow. And the spiritual dimensions is moving way faster than the physical dimension. It takes a lot of time to form physical mass and material. So again, every evil thought, word, and deed that is evil against the great God, universal law, will have to come up within everyone, the 99%. One sin against the great God that's coming up is poverty. You will have to face your poverty, your true poverty consciousness in this age, because this is the age of truth as the universe sees it, as the universe recorded it, not as your little puny eyes recorded it. Your little puny eyes saw everyone that you stole from, saw all of the 99% that you stole from. The universe saw you steal it, and now you go back to your true poverty consciousness as the poor in spirit that you are. That's what the digital age is about. That's universal disclosure. You came here with nothing, you leaving with nothing. That's what the great God, universal law, is showing you. The only thing that you can, again, in a digital-based world, the only thing that you can leave here with is lifetimes of karmic debt to live out. How many of the very elect, are seeing things in their environment that they know that are being used for nefarious, fear-based negative agendas, but are not just calling in divine justice, you know. So again, that's our job. That is our job as a vessel of the new earth. A new earth is forming A new earth is forming right as we speak. This earth is governed by love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice for all of the inhabitants. Will be subject to the laws of abundance. We'll be operating in the laws of abundance and, love, truth, peace on earth, freedom on earth. That is justice. It's only righteous. That's the right standing with Allah, with the great God, universal Allah, is to be operating in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. You shall be in your right standing with the great God, universal Allah. But you cannot do that if you are in a consciousness. I'm not saying living. There are literally some so-called poor people that they will leave this earth as rich, truly rich people. I'm talking about a lot of your humans that live in poverty will leave here in wealth, in riches, and abundance consciousness. They may have abundance of time. They may have freedom. They might have peace living in poverty. And so that can allow them. The only reason the poor, the so-called poor, cannot live in peace here is because of persecution, whether it's from institutions persecuting them for choosing to live on the land. That's the only reason why the poor, the so-called poor, cannot have peace living in poverty in this world. I've been subject to that myself, wanting me being, not wanting, forget about wanting, I'm talking about me being assigned. Man, listen, the great God assigned me out on the streets. Like, you have to record, your vessel has to record the record of the earth experience of individuals choosing to live on the land. Granted, mind you, I'm not saying drug addicts that choose to live on the land. I'm not saying mentally ill vessels that want to live on the land. I'm not talking about none of that. I'm talking about individuals that want to trace their roots back, bring up the records of their ancestral bloodline and lineage of living in tents. Tents are biblical. Tents have always been used by gods, the great gods, vessels, people. Because the great God, listen, if the great God is not in this business of concrete houses, because the great God may tell you to get up and go and move. We don't have the time and all that to be building concrete homes everywhere that we have to migrate. Our ancestors were so, the divine ancestors, so connected to the earth would literally communicate with them. These times that they had to migrate and move had to move everything. I'm not talking about even under duress. I'm talking about even their positive lives included migration. So us being restricted from tapping back into that ancestral record through the DNA, that's a crime against humanity, and I am calling in a divine court hearing and transfer for that. Everyone that wants to live on the land for religious reasons that is being denied, being persecuted, I vessel, thrown in jail, not once, but twice, but thrice. It was either once or twice or thrice. I vessel for doing my assignment from the great God Universal Allah and really going out there with a tent and living on the land. Nobody would do it with me. Not my earth family, not no friends. Nothing. Great God, you go out there by yourself. Go live on the land. We got records to pull. We have a transmutation. To do this creates all types of experiences within experiences that you can use to evolve to have a broader perspective of your life and how it is designed by the great God Universal Allah, because you will be thrown into various trials and tribulations within these, accepting these assignments from the great God Universal Allah. Look, from me accepting the assignment of the great God Universal Allah, experiencing with my ancestors, some of my greatest ancestors experience, living right on the land in a tent, I get thrown in jail. I have peeping toms come out the woodworks, all types of things, to where I'm now having it's a self-induced this like self-induced chaos magic, and then bam, great God come in the same way they do on the other side. Great God come in, step into your chaos and create divine order, because you chose to step out of your robotic android duties that another human just like you gave you these assignments that you're doing every day. But you won't accept an assignment from the great God Universal Allah. They don't like us talk about this. What?
Being an Autobot and all kinds of shit like that, that's cartoons.
Listen, if you see the Transformers, alright, that doesn't mean that you're going to be reincarnated into that exact reality. But what it does mean, any imprints of fear that you had, whatever, you don't know, whatever type of fear-based imprint that was generated from you at that movie theater, you have to live that energy out. Whatever energy, it may not be the same visual. You get it? But it's the only thing that is real is energy. Energy, the frequency, the vibration cannot lie. It's going to record and it's going to register in some other dimension and reality. So you would have to, your consciousness would have to live that out. For the process of transmutation, whatever you created out of fear.
And over a lifetime?
This, in all time and space. So you're being judged on this lifetime.
Because I also went to the movie to see Super Mario Brothers.
Well, there's some vessels will be, their records will be, their records of fear will be wiped clear. It will be like a delete on the fear records. If you, and that's called being redeemed by the great God, universal Allah. So you do not have to experience these other dimensions and realities in fear. But for the ones that do not receive redemption, they might, that's the saying, you have no chance for redemption. Not even in your last breath, if you take that mark of the beast, that implant, that microchip. You have no chance for redemption, reconciliation back to just a higher plane of life. For some, it may just be to go on and I don't know, be a mother somewhere. Who knows? Like, it could be extensive. Man. But for some, getting that mark of the beast, it's going to take them into all of those, whatever dimension and reality they created from that, the fear energy that was recorded. It's going to materialize somewhere else. It's going to materialize. And they're going to have to live through that. They're going to have to live through it. So.
Man, I looked at all that Marvel movies and shit. Not saying that I was, it wasn't really fear like that, but it was like amazement and shit like that. I just say that, you know what I'm saying? Because I saw just about all of the events. I see all the Avengers. You know what I'm saying? And
I'm only talking about, because we can create positive and neutral timelines too, but I'm talking about the negative that people are going to be responsible for.
I don't like scary movies in the first place, so I don't even look at that. Like, I was Jeepers Creepers and all kinds of shit. Looking at Chucky and Freddy Krueger and Jason and Halloween and stuff. But
now,
the older I got, I realized that shit was just bullshit.
The movie is just one aspect of the fears that you're going to have to face.
I went and seen monster movies at the movies, King Kong and Godzilla and shit.
And that's all. That was just the 1%. They entered you into a manifestation ritual, like nationwide. When they got you to see that movie, that's all they did. When they got you to see that movie,
I kind of knew that, man. It's like some kind of way. I knew that, like, if you think something that by the universe being infinite, meaning we can't even comprehend because we have finite minds, right? It means that somewhere out there, there's got to be some shit like that that's going on. If you can think of it, you know what I'm saying?
Well, it's a book out there. I never personally read it, but it's called Thoughts Become Things or something like that.
Thoughts are manifested in
reality.
It says
thoughts. The book is like Thoughts Become Things. And I believe, even though I ain't read it, that's the premise of that book. Absolutely. This is universal law. Everyone's thoughts become things. That's the universal law of cause and effect. That is the universal law of cause and effect.
So
That's the law of attraction. They had a whole.
What
you,
would
you remember The Secret? That was like a cult book. The Secret.
nah, I don't know nothing about that. I ain't never heard of it. I don't know nothing about it.
Well, that was distributed by. I think the craze over it was created by Oprah Winfrey.
Oh well, see.
Divine Court hearing on that. Divine Court hearing on Aunt Jemima. Divine Court hearing and transfer on Aunt Jemima.
That's what you call Oprah Winfrey. Aunt Jemima. She is a bitch, and so is Michael Jordan too, because they invested in prison facilities and enslaved their own people and shit.
Oh, well, look. Divine Court hearing and transfer. This petition is against Michael Jordan.
Now,
As well for investing in a prison system, institution. That's a negative. That's an institution created by the spiritual wickedness in the higher dimensions to keep slavery of the indigenous people, the melanated people, who the European cursed into slavery. That's to keep modern day slavery going on.
Now, I don't know how true
So
it is.
Divine Court hearing and transfer against him. I heard. No,
That's
he
what I
is.
heard online. I don't know how.
That's on the record. That's on the record that Michael Jordan is involved with investing in slavery.
You heard that?
Oh, definitely.
I heard it, but I don't know.
But see, I was actually the Great God Universal Allah actually told me to put that on the record, because I don't have to put none of this on the record. I don't have to record none of this on no YouTube video. Petitioning in the divine court. Satanic is the prince of these airwaves. Satan rules the domain, the airwaves. This is Satan's AI world, the internet. I merely make these recordings and put it on the record on the phone so that I can show the very elect how the Great God Universal Allah is commanding you to operate during this new age, because you are responsible for your vessel and consciousness being restored back to its divine order. Again, anyone that these founding families of capitalism, commercialism, and consumerism that extracted your universal code through melanin, they extracted your universal gifts by extracting your melanin. Look, this is the time where divine justice has come back on the scene, and the Great God ordained your vessel to co-create with the aspect of the Great God Universal Allah, which is divine justice. Divine justice is an aspect of the Great God Universal Allah. So we have to co-create with divine justice. Divine justice does not need a human vessel. The consciousness of divine justice is way too large for a human vessel. But trust and believe that this aspect, this virtue of the Great God Universal Allah is back on earth in full divine force. So all that's needed to activate divine justice is your vessel. Your vessel has an instrument called a mouth, called the brain, called hands. Because if you were to seek justice in a earth court, you would have to go to the courthouse, and you have to file a petition, probably by hand, or if I don't know if they do it online, you may have to type it out, or your lawyer will do that, right? My lawyer is Divine Justice. That's who I choose to represent I Vessel and the divinely connected to I Vessel consciousness realities multi-dimensionally. Now, you may go to Earth Court and pick a lawyer, and you're going to tell them your petition or your complaint. I think that's how it works. I'm not sure. The only time I went into a court was from persecution from the United States court. That's the only time I was ever in court for unjust reasons. Like living on the land, or using my proclaimed nationality name and being accused of impersonating someone. That's the only time I really dealt with the courts. But I do remember, I feel like there's a bit of writing going on, where I had to sit down with a lawyer and tell the lawyer my case. I go to Dimensions to meet with a lawyer called Divine Justice, and I tell them my petition. They pull the record, and that record gets ruled on, and a judgment is made. And boom, we shift into a higher frequency of the earth, because justice, divine justice, has been served through I Vessel. That's my instrument that I have through earth. That's what the great God Universal Allah is saying is one of the very elects to the chosen by the positive polarity. Because there's a remnant of chosen ones. They're chosen by Satan to carry out negative, nefarious agendas like murder, hate, lust. Manipulation, control. Huh?
This truck started messing up again with an empty trailer.
So,
it ain't even no load on it.
They're a remnant of Satan's chosen ones. Now, there are many dimensions to Satan. The Satan of this world. This is that's the adversary of this earth. Excuse me, the earth. That only wants to steal, kill, and destroy from the earth. That Satan, that consciousness is in many vessels. These are the chosen vessels. They are pure evil against the great God Universal Allah. They are just here for nefarious, negative agendas, and they are chosen. They're chosen for it. The difference with maybe a regular human and a vessel that's chosen by Satan, they would have a a full consciousness of Satan. They would be in some form directly connected to Satan. I'm not talking about them chosen ones, because I see online, this is a doctrine of devils. This chosen one doctrine. What? Why?
Doctrine of devils. It's funny in the sense of how you said it.
Well, it's a doctrine of devils because chosen by who? They can just. This is what I'm saying. This is why the English language is an extremely low frequency language. Chosen by who? I just keep saying this. Chosen one, chosen one, chosen one. Who are these beings chosen by? Because if they chosen by Satan, I don't want nothing to do with these motherfuckers. These motherfuckers is the wicked ones. They are the vessels of doom, chaos, and destruction. These are the vessels of Satan. The chosen vessels of Satan. They was chosen for the age of Pisces. These motherfucking has-beens. These are your modern day has-beens that lead the world to the depths of Gehenna, which your Bible says is hell. Or what your English Bible calls hell. They leading you to Gehenna. That's the Hebrew. I'm going to use the more, if I want to benefit from this age of, this touch time age, this age of purification of the soul, this age of Aquarius is what it is. We got to clean, we have to do a full consciousness detox from all the lies we were taught from the age of Pisces. This is the age of purification. The vessels chosen by Satan, they are leading the world into the more and more defilement, because the great God universal Allah said the wickedness on earth shall increase. It's going to increase because of them, the chosen ones by Satan. So who are these chosen ones? If you was chosen by the positive, you know what? I'm not going to make that absolute statement. If you are chosen by the positive polarity, you will be influencing the world towards a higher frequency vibration. You will not be hired to take them more into the frequency of extremely low frequencies that separate you from the great God universal Allah. So what chosen ones is this chosen doctrine about? Because we're in a whole new age now. It would not be possible for this spiritual wickedness in the higher dimensions to choose a vessel for a positive polarity earth. Not happening. They only know evil against the great God universal Allah. That's all they're programmed for. That's the universal disclosure. I forget that movie. I don't know the name of that movie, but these beings were called Decepticons. Transformers. The Decepticons are the vessels of Satan.
Autobots.
what is it, Decepticons and Autobots?
Decepticons, like you had it right. Yeah.
Versus Autobots?
Versus the Autobots and
The,
Optimus Prime.
so the Autobots are the very elect to the chosen. These are the vessels of righteousness. These are the vessels of the great God, Universal Allah. And the Decepticons are these wicked ones. They are the army of Satan. They are the vessels of Satan. They are chosen by Satan. They are chosen ones too. This is a world of duality, a world of polarity. They are chosen ones too. So I'm talking about that whole chosen community out there on the internet. You better be distinguishing. What chosen ones are you talking about? Because there are criteria that one has to meet to be a chosen one on either side, either polarity. Just like the great God, Universal Allah, disclosed, to whom much is given, much is required. That's the same thing with Satan. You don't understand how much dirt the chosen ones of Satan got to put in. How much fear they have to generate on the earth to be chosen by Satan. That is a specific amount for you to even be. That is a prerequisite to be chosen by Satan. Well, what is the prerequisite for me to be chosen by the great God, Universal Allah, to become an Autobot? The first and foremost prerequisite, your consciousness is to uplift a fallen humanity. That is it. That is your consciousness, to uplift a fallen humanity. Now, how it may look different during this age, because we're just cleaning up the records. We're not concerned with this physical earth anymore. That's what the great God, Universal Allah, told us about these end times. This is spiritual. This is not carnal. This is not physical. This is spiritual. Our only job is to clean up the record of humanity through the mind, what was programmed in the minds of humanity. We're at the end of a cycle. Death is a part of the end of a cycle. End of a cycle is death. We're not concerned with saving bodies. Everything has to die. Everything has to leave here. But we do, as the very elect to the chosen, we do have to clean up the records of the collective consciousness and humanity through our works. That's the prerequisite of being chosen by the positive polarity, including the great God. You may have extraterrestrials. Your ancestors may be from Arcturus, or your allies may be from Arcturus, and they may choose your vessel for it, because each species, they have different assignments from the great God, Universal Allah. The Arcturus may choose your vessel to upgrade for etheric surgeries. Because think about the universal law of one. If you come back to Earth with a higher frequency, what do you do to Earth and Earth's people? So you may be chosen by a specific species that operate in the positive polarity. They may be scouting your vessel, because your thoughts pulsate out to the universe. The universe has a record of every vessel that is concerned and working towards the upliftment of humanity. The universe has that record. You would be like a light beam or a light post, and certain species may have a genetic compatibility with your vessel, so they may choose your vessel, and they can make contact in many, many different ways. Obviously, you're gonna have to be doing some energy work to be connected. They are too high of a frequency to interact with your fear-based programmed human vessel. That's why we use our crystals of the positive polarity. Because look, I started working with a meteorite, and I'm saying, this was an earth experience. My whole reality shifted to the evil polarity. From communicating with these negative, nefarious extraterrestrials that were associated with this meteorite. So the great God already said even the very elect will be deceived, because some crystals, they can be deployed to negatively impact your consciousness. You may have direct access to negative, nefarious beings in other dimensions, extraterrestrials in other dimensions, by using certain space objects. It personally happened to me, so that's how I know. I had to actually put that meteorite. I was instructed to bag it in salt to neutralize its negative charge. So again, this happened to me, and that's why the great God has me to warn the very elect. Be careful what the energy work that you're considering. Be careful that it does not lead you to the negative polarity. Some people have reported experiences with the crystal moldavite. I don't think you could find that. I don't know if you can find that, like dig that out of earth. I don't know about that right now, but so you may have to get that online. I don't know if I don't think I would recommend getting a frequency like that. I don't think that I would recommend that. That's a very, it's going to change your consciousness so much. You have to make sure that you're ready for that, because your reality is going to reflect your consciousness at all times. As above, so below, as within, so without. We have to understand this. So again, like, you know, my intention and what inshallah, my heart's desire is to have a database of vibrationally approved resources for things like crystals and energy tools, because the great God said it during these times, even the very elect shall be deceived. That's going to include every area of your life, because every area of your life affects whether you ascend back to the higher planes of life or descend to closer to the dimensions of weeping and gnashing of the teeth. Great God, Universal Allah already said even financial, there are financial contracts that are landing the 99% back into a reincarnation of economic slavery of some form, being under a legal contract as a debtor, If you are under a legal contract as a debtor to any entity, you are subject to certain spiritual legal terms if that entity wants to collect on that debt. Alright, that's a spiritual wickedness in the high dimensions. Alright, I'm collecting. I want a judgment against them. I want them incarnated for my empire in this next reincarnation. The slavery could be infinitely worse. These are things, what entities are going to land you back into the reincarnation cycle under legal spiritual contracts of as being a debtor. A debtor denotes to slavery. So where are you going into slavery when you leave Earth, or your next holding place? The next holding place for your consciousness. Where are you reincarnating into slavery because of the spiritual legal contracts that you are under with certain said entities? And entities come in the form of people, places, and things. Any physical construct has entities attached to it. That's universal law, as above, so below, as within, so without. I think we're done from here.